Hello, today I want to test the Mssiah cartridge on the C64 Reloaded mk2. A user from Australia actually reported that he's experiencing some sync issues while using Mssiah cartridge in conjunction with MIDI. And I had this on my list for quite a couple of weeks and never came to it to test this. But finally, now it's the time to do so. And in order to do so, I've set up a C64 Reloaded mk2 board with Mssiah and a MIDI connection. And I have another C64 running. It's a normal 469 board. And it's almost quite a similar configuration. It has a mix SID installed to run 2 SIDs, and it has an SD to IC device as well, and it's running a Mssiah using a MIDI connection. And so I already started the Mssiah on the Reloaded. So actually the Mssiah you're seeing here is the one running on this board, and the other Mssiah is well, it's kind of hidden. Actually, it's not visible, but well, you can trust me, it's existing. And maybe as a proof of concept, I'm switching over to Ableton, because that's the one I'm using to trigger those C64s. Let's see how this is going to work. There we go. It looks a little bit strange, so try something else. Move this over to the screen. And here we go. So, and as you can see, I have already set up Ableton Live, and it still looks a little strange, but well, anyway. Perhaps I have some cropping, so change this a little bit, that we have available. There we go. So I have already set up 2 external instruments, and they are running on different MIDI outputs. And as you can see, this one is using the Midisport 4x4 on what's that, port 3, and the other one, let's just go. It's on port 1, and the Mssiah on the C64 that isn't visible right now is running on MIDI channel 4. That's a kind of historical thing from my older setup. I haven't changed this yet. And just as a proof of existence, I will start the sequencer on the first C64. And we can see that we have some audio level here as well. And if we start the sequencer on this C64, we will have the audio level on the other channel as well. And if we're going to switch over to the C64s in the FrameMeister, then we will have some audio as well, which will indeed sound a little bit strange because those 2 Messiahs are not running in sync. And depending on how I'm going to start them, they are running in parallel or not. So actually, let's make this a little bit not so loud. But that's not going to be the purpose of this exercise. What I'm looking for is when we run Ableton to trigger the Messiahs as external instruments, as external synthesizers actually, whether they run in sync or not. So in order to do so, we have to set monosynth to run in MIDI mode, not in sequencer mode. And as soon as we're going to do this, we won't see anything at all because the picture is going to turn black. And so I'm releasing the key and the picture is gone. I'm going to do so the very same on the other one. And then now let's switch back to our Ableton. There we go. And when I'm going to press play, both C64s should start to play something. And here we go. So unfortunately we can't hear this right now, because the audio is routed through FrameMeister, but I'm just recording this through my microphone so that you have at least an idea what I'm doing. But it's a little bit loud, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And now we could record this as a wave file and see whether those two waveforms are synchron. But there's another thing we can do, and by selecting the master channel, like this one, and using a plugin, call it a signal analyzer. Oops, one, which we can just drop here. And then we just open the plugin window. Here we have a waveform. And this is perhaps not really helpful. So let's just tune this a little bit, so to say. And we can do so by either making it louder or just using the scale function. And then we can extend this. We can zoom in, or we can just zoom out. And now we see that the waveform is running through the screen. And we can switch to spectrum as well, but that's not very helpful. And we can just say free running, which makes no real difference at all. So actually it's quite hard to detect whether those two waveforms are really starting at the very same moment, but there's a nice feature called the freeze button. And if we are fast enough and hit the button in the right moment, what I actually made it, we can see that both waveforms are starting at the very same moment. And we can even zoom in a little bit, and it is almost the very same waveform at all. And the reason is I was loading the standard patch file that comes with Mssiah. And usually if you have a brand new Mssiah, and this was actually a brand new one, it comes with a couple of factory settings. And usually if you start to change the patches and all that stuff, and you hit save settings when you exit Mssiah, then those factory settings are gone forever. There's no chance to restore them anymore, because the factory settings are basically nothing else than stored patches. And as soon as you store your own patch, the factory setting is gone. So, but this time I remembered that, and I was saving all the factory patches on my SD to IC device, and I used the same SD card in the other C64 to load the original patch, and therefore we have almost the very same patch on both C64s. The difference we may hear is that this board, the reloaded mk2 board, are running two 8580 SIDs, the newer SIDs, and the other C64 is running two 6581 SIDs, the older generation, and they are a little bit different in terms of sound and sound generation. But that's not going to be the topic of this video. But well, I think we proved that those two boards running on the very same timing, so there's actually no issue. And maybe just to check whether we have, make this a little bit smaller again. I can just stop one channel here, and or I stop both channels, but anyway. How it's supposed to be, and they're still running. Okay. So just one channel is running, and if you so we see that those two signals are very much aligned. That's the reason, because it's a stereo signal, and but you can see that the waveform is much shorter now. But if you're going to restart this, you see that the waveform has changed. And if you hit this button, you see that one waveform looks indeed different compared to the other one. And if we just start this again, and switch to this one, you can see that there's clearly a difference. But we can toggle them on and off, and they remain in sync. So that's actually working pretty fine. And to be honest, I haven't expected anything else. So there's no real reason for not running in sync. And well, perhaps that's all I want to say today. But well, let's have a look. It looks a little bit different now. So well, maybe let's make it a little bit different. Let's go for a mono channel. On new input config. Get this as mono channels as well. And switch this one to channel 3. And this one, channel 9. But interestingly, I was expecting that it is going to change the color, but I think they are actually not in sync. There is a small delay between those two. And if you just say that this grid is about 0.1 second, so one grid is 0.01 second, and we have 1, 2, 3, about 4, so it's 0.04 seconds. There's indeed a small difference, so it's less than 100 milliseconds, but it is clearly a difference. Stop this again. Start this again. Perhaps we're doing a screenshot of this. And let's compare this. And then we just mute one channel. and make another screenshot. Make this a little bit larger. I'm actually using Paint to capture my screenshots. And else? I think it's going to mess up my screenshot now. Yes, indeed. And now it's gone and forever. Anyway. Well then, let's do it right now. The picture horizontal was okay, vertical was a little bit small. So we got more space now. And let's paste this one. And then let's go back to this. Mute this one. Record the other one. And paste it here as well. Well, it's actually quite hard to distinguish, but we see that one waveform is longer than the other, so it looks like that the release rate is different on the other C64. And even the attack phase looks a little bit different. So this is just to kind of, let's say, distinguish the two signals. And can actually turn one a little bit lower. And see whether we can distinguish them. Probably the wrong one. Make this a little bit louder and this a little bit lower. Or maybe there's another possibility. Yeah, they look in sync. Well, that's interesting. Let's try something else. Go to the MIDI channel. This. Make the signal much shorter. Go to the other one. So we still got a signal on both channels, that's okay. And now when we, I think I just have to change this a little bit. Maybe we have to increase the volume again. So now we got two different signals, yes. But they're supposed to start at the very same position. And here we can clearly see that they are not doing what we were expecting. So that's really interesting. There's indeed a small gap between those two signals, and if you zoom in, it's the same what we have seen before. It's about this 0.04 seconds, so it's 40 milliseconds, which isn't that much, but well, it's kind of surprising. So well, then let's switch back to Mssiah and see whether we have maybe some different settings for attack and all I was expecting. Okay, we do not have a picture because we are running in MIDI mode. So attack on the filters, just 1. Jump out of the other one, that's 1 as well. So case the same on the filter, on the amplifier. Sustain is the same. And release is different. Okay, this is an explanation why one Messiah is showing a longer signal. So then let's turn this down. So we should have the very same length on both signals. And what's a little bit different as well is the filter setting. But that's perhaps really making a huge difference. So I set it to the very same. And all the other parameters are the same now. Yes. So, well, oops. Then let's switch back to the MIDI mode. Now they sound the same as well. Okay, that's great. Now, what are we going to see? Looks pretty similar to me, which is indeed a little bit strange now. Oh well, that's actually quite a nice signal. And well, I have to admit I haven't used Ableton for quite a long time, so I'm actually not sure how to record something. But well, let's see whether we can get it to record something. Just remember that we had to kind of aim one channel. Actually, it is already recording something. Now we just have to find it. So it hasn't recorded my master channel. Well, that's not what I was looking for. And I think we have to press 1. Just setting this to thing. Stop our clips, Q out, master out. Well, that's probably not helpful, what I'm trying to do right now. Well, perhaps I have to refer to the manual, because I have actually no idea how to record a waveform on Ableton Live. I thought it was a little bit easier, but well, usually most of the time I'm just doing live sets and record the audio different program in the background, and I'm using Ableton just as a, let's say, MIDI trigger MIDI device, and usually I have a control launch pad attached to this, so I'm not very familiar with the handling of the software itself. Sounds a little bit strange, I know, but well, that's actually not my main focus. But well, to come to a conclusion right now, I still think that we should hear something. That's a little bit weird now. Now it stopped doing anything. Start the MIDI channels again. Okay, yeah, we're back. And let's have a final look at this master channel. And I think they look good. They're really aligned. And well, what we can do is go for this one, select all of them and move them a little bit. And we should see they get separated. Now we got two signals. I think this is obvious. And we're going to move this back. They are back in alignment. Okay. So basically that's all I want to show. And well, I was a little bit surprised in the middle of this session that we had indeed a difference. But maybe as a small bonus, I'm just setting Mssiah back to sequencer mode and just start the sequencer, and actually we can hear something. And I'm just going to make this a little bit louder. So hopefully I'm still understandable. And what I have done, I have connected Nunchuck 64, which I have presented in a different video already. And now we can use the joystick of this Nunchuck to control MIDI parameters, or let's say patch parameters on this Mssiah. And actually I've selected the cutoff. And now if I'm using the Nunchuck, we can change the cutoff. And if you press the button, it's even faster. And we can jump from one parameter to the other one by just pressing the associated keys. And the next thing we can do, and I think this is going to mess up the whole Mssiah setup right now, but if we're going to jump out and go to controls and say pedals or potentiometers, and going back to Mssiah, then we have actually 4 different circles, and they mark the position of the 4 different pedals. And if we're going to set the Nunchuck 64 to pedal mode, you can see that those pedals, those values start to kind of shiver. This is quite a normal Mssiah behavior, and I have created 2 different pedal boxes, which you can see here, and I'm using to change the other Mssiah, which is actually not visible, by just turning the knobs. And the potentiometers are actually different compared between those 2 boxes. And one is quite simple. It is it's a kind of replication of the original C64 / VS20 pedals. So it's the same value of the resistors. And the other one is quite a different approach, where I try to have some kind of smoothing of the signal, something like this. So it's built a little bit differently. But the Mssiah behavior of having this shivering values, it's the very same. So this is really a Mssiah issue. But now if we just go back to the sequencer mode, we can hear something. And going to use those two nunchucks and turn them, move them in different directions, we can see that those values are changed by this nunchucks. So as you can see, there's kind of a range problem. So we can't use the full range right now, but that's probably going to be changed sometime. And we can even jump to other parameters and manipulate them. So I just have to find the right value. I was looking for this one. And just imagine if this is going to use the full range of the pedals, how interesting the creation of sound is going to be, because now you're really kind of, let's say, disconnected from controls like this potentiometers like here or something like this, and you really can kind of express yourself by just moving your hands. And this is like this air breathe controllers you can get for MIDI instruments or something like this, or just to make this more appealing. There were a special synthesizer where you kind of used your hands to change frequencies and all that stuff. So this is well, not the pretty same, but it's coming a little bit close to this one. And well, by just showing this, I'm actually quite done with this video today. I hope it was a little bit interesting. I thought it was a little bit confusing in the middle, and well, this could happen. I've tested some stuff before I started the video, but I never went into the details that much because that was going to be the purpose of the video. But well, actually, I'm quite happy that this is working. And well, as well, if you have any questions, something like this, comments, suggestions, whatever, feel free to use the comment section, and I'm more than willing to answer whatever you want to know. And as usual, thanks for watching. And if you want to stay informed, please feel free to subscribe. I highly appreciate this, and see you for the next video then. Bye bye.